Hey YouTube, how's it going? Kevin Clear here with a knife video for you, and this is the CRKT Hammond Cuiser. This is another large budget folder from CRKT, probably comparable to, and I do have here with me the Crawford Casper from the other day. This knife is designed by Jim Hammond, and in its production version it is out of production, so no longer, CRKT is no longer making these, although they're widely available. eBay, Amazon, virtually any knife website that you can go to, they're going to have some of these in stock, and most of them are clearing them out at a great price. You're probably, if you pay more than $20, you've definitely overpaid for this knife, and that's even here in Canada. If you go to Jim Hammond's website, you can check out the custom versions of this knife. They're actually really cool. There's a military, hard use version, and then there's more of a gentleman's folder version. They do run about $700, so probably out of the realm of possibility for most of us. However, maybe you're really into that. Now, for me, it was a lot better to just go to eBay. I think I could be wrong about that, but I think I got this one from eBay and pay $19. So that's what you're looking at for this guy. It is, and the website, Jim Hammond's website, indicates that this is a combat design, and certainly it has some features like that, like a good belly for slicing and a very acute point. We'll talk about that a little more when we get to blade design. Now, before I go on, I want to point out this. I have another one of these knives coming in tan handle scales rather than the green. So it'll be tan and bead blasted rather than green and bead blasted. And I'm going to use it for 100 subscriber giveaway. When I reach 100 subscribers, I am going to give away the other Hammond Cuiser, the tan one. It's unopened, still in box, everything like that, brand new. This one obviously I've used, and so I'm going to keep. Now, I will give you the details about that when we get to that point. Let's go into size and weight, okay? This knife is 9 inches overall, 3 3/4 inch blade, 5 1/4 inch handle, weighs in at 6 ounces. Now, I weighed this one at 5.8 ounces on my own scale. A lot of websites listed at 6.2 ounces, so if we split the difference, we get 6 ounces. That's about what you're going to be looking at. One dimension that you probably want to notice is this one. It's quite wide, quite thick, and so you do notice it in your pocket for the first, half hour or so, and then you kind of get used to it and forget about it. The other thing that pertains to carry, normally I deal with this when I'm talking about the handle, but with this knife there's sort of a special thing to say. Here you've got this hole that looks like a lanyard hole. It is not. The blade, when it shuts, if you watch, goes right through that hole and would of course cut any lanyard that you put in there. If you do want to put a lanyard on this knife, it could go around this bottom standoff, no problem. So let's zoom in a little bit and talk about the blade. I'm going to move over so the knife is more in the shot than I am. There we go. And this blade is 3 3/4 inches, as I mentioned, of HCR 14 MOV steel. That's a very good budget steel. Going to perform well for you as as good as Aussade or HCR 13 or any number of budget steels that are out there, 440C. I have had good experience with it. And by the way, this one also, I mentioned this with the Crawford and Casper. This one also came very, very sharp out of box. Again, about the sharpest I've seen from CRKT. And I have got some blades from them that were so-so. All right. It is a hollow grind. It's got a slight recurve here and this nice swedge at the top. So you've got a clip point blade. I've seen a couple websites call this a spear point blade. I don't know why. It's definitely a clip point. So I'm not sure what they were thinking. And to be honest, not all websites go into great. They don't give a lot of concern, especially if they got thousands of knives there. They may get a detail like that wrong from time to time. But anyways, you've got this clip point blade, very acute point. You can see by looking at this blade the martial influence on it. However, having said that, This is a very good utility blade. I cut up a whole bunch of vegetables with it, cardboard with it, all kinds of stuff. The bead blast finish is nice for that. Bead blast finishes tend to hide damage pretty well and stay looking pretty good for a prolonged period of time. They can get scratches and stuff, and even then though, because of its sort of non-reflective nature, it doesn't stand out that much. Okay, so that's the blade. Very, very good, useful blade shape as far as I'm concerned. Is it as useful as a full flat grind? We've had this discussion before. You know, I do like full flat grinds, but I like a hollow grind. Now this could be better if it was a higher hollow grind. That's about all I'll say about that. I don't have any complaints having used it quite a bit. I do want to stop here for a second and go back and do a part of the video that I normally always do, but that I have missed. And that is some comparisons for size. I have here a Spyderco Tenacious, and so you can see the size comparison on those. If this is, you know, a common EDC blade, then you can see this is a little bigger, maybe considerably bigger than that, and it does weigh quite a bit more as well. The other knife that I feel like is worth comparing to this is the Hammond, or the Crawford Casper. So here's the Hammond Cuiser, here's the Crawford Casper. These things are about the same price point and very similar in size. This guy is considerably lighter. You know, it's only 1 ounce on paper, but you would not believe the difference in feel, okay? Also in pocket, you can really notice the difference here. The blade, of course, is much slimmer. Overall, it's a slimmer design. And the handle is actually thicker, which is hard to believe because the Crawford Casper is such a big knife. If you're considering both of these, this is a little heavier and the blade is thicker, but that's about the only difference. You're getting as good and maybe even a little better of a knife with the Crawford Casper. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind if you're looking at both of these, because I know right now they're a similar price point. Deployment is next, and it does have this nice flipper. Flips out very well. It's not as satisfying as some knives because it doesn't have that nice thwack sound. You know, I like it when you flip a knife out to hear that good chunk when it goes into place. This knife does not do that. You can hear it's quite quiet. But it does deploy well, and you can do it without any wrist flick. I failed that time. It seems like you always fail on camera. I can do this 100 times off camera and then get on camera and blow it. It does deploy very well, and the thumb studs work very well also. There's the thumb stud deployment, nice and slow and steady and controlled. This is riding on, oh, by the way, thinking of deployment, it does have the lock system. So again, the lock system works just by push this up, and now what's happened is on this side, a little piece of metal has gone down behind the lock bar so that you can't disengage the lock. That's how it works. Again, I like this system in manual. I hate it in the auto locks version of this. And it doesn't really make lockup any stronger, okay? What it does is makes this little lock can't be disengaged very easily. The reality is the strength of your lockup has more to do with the strength of the lock bar and the way the angle is and how that interfaces with the blade. And this auto lock system doesn't change any of that stuff, okay? All it does is make it so that it's very difficult to push, and really you can't. There's a physical barrier in there. You can't disengage the lock by pushing it over. That's what it means. If the lock is going to fail under use, it may still fail even with the auto locks engaged, okay? Now, moving on. Oh yeah, the washers are Teflon, and that does introduce a little bit of blade movement. It's not blade play per se, it's just that you can compress those washers a little bit because of the fact that they're a softer material. They're not metal. Okay, so it's you know, great, smooth. You know, I'm not complaining at all about what washers are in there. I've never had any problems with any of the knives that I have that have Teflon washers. It's fine. All right. Now let's see, where are we? Check my notes really quick. We've talked about deployment, we've talked about that. Oh yeah, okay. Let's talk about the handle. It is this honeycomb pattern Zytel. Very comfortable, very grippy. It's a good combination. You know, I've harped on this before, and I'm going to do it again for a second. As I said before, I prefer a handle shape that allows for good blade retention in hand. This has that, plus it has a pretty good texturing on the Zytel that adds to it. And so that's a good combination. There's a thumb ramp here that's on the back of the blade, and it's fine. It has some jimping, but it's strong, but I rarely use the knife like this. I'm more inclined to use it like this, so that jimping here doesn't do a whole lot for me. I suppose if you were in a combat situation, you may be inclined to use the knife like that, and if you are, I will say the locks feature is in a good position to kind of go together with that. You can see me actuating it there. Okay, so that part of in terms of grippiness, it's very good. In terms of comfort, it's also good, and that's largely just due to size. It's a very thick handle, which means it really fills your hand and leaves no hot spots because you've got an equally hard grip practically everywhere. And so it's very, very good. Now the downside is put this in your pocket and it's rather thick, okay? So just kind of keep that in the back of your mind. It is, of course, open pillar construction. It's Torx screws, which of course we like in case we ever want to take the thing apart. Last point is the handle clip. I hate this handle clip, pocket clip. I do not like this pocket clip. In terms of the overall look of the knife, I think it's nice. It's nice that the Bee Blast finish matches the blade. However, it's just too stinking big. Like, why would it ever need to be that wide? And I'll be honest with you, I'm really considering taking a grinder to this and narrowing down this pocket clip by quite a bit. You know, take a good 1/8 of an inch off either side and make it sort of a normal size clip, somewhat similar to, you know, this Spyderco clip. That's about the right size of a clip. I don't know what this thing is trying to do. One other thing that I'm actually toying with is making my own scales for this knife. It wouldn't be that hard to do because it's just a liner lock. There's not a lot going on. You could easily pattern this out onto a piece of wood or some other material and make scales for it that were considerably thinner. You know, this is really thick. If you made scales that were like 3/16 of an inch or so instead of like whatever these are, I would say these are probably 5/16. You would make a much smoother knife. Now you would have to make some changes. The pocket clip would have to be adjusted slightly. These screws would have to be cut off. No big deal. But yeah, I have thought about making that modification to the knife because it's quite thick and it would function just as well. I don't think you'd lose anything by thinning down those scales a bit. All right, by the way, the clip is 4-way repositionable, so you can put it anywhere you'd like, left hand, right hand, whatever. And in that sense, the knife is rather ambidextrous. Now, of course, the lock system is only on the one side, but left-handed you can easily actuate it just as well. And the liner lock, but I'm assuming if you're a lefty, you're pretty well used to using having the lock on the wrong side of the knife. Okay, so there you go. That's my take on the Hammond Cuiser. Again, a really, really great blade. I've been using this quite a bit lately, and it's just comfortable. I love the blade shape. I do prefer this knife a little bit over the Crawford Casper, similar in size, and yet you get a lighter knife, a smaller knife, you don't lose any of the functionality. So this is a big win as far as I'm concerned. I'm actually a little surprised that it's cut from CRKT's lineup, but maybe they just weren't selling, and maybe it's had its run. You know, I think it did have quite a long production run. So anyway, there you go. That's my take on the Hammond Cuiser. Really good blade at a very, very good price. And keep in mind, if you're still watching, that who knows how long, maybe a month or two, I will be doing a giveaway with not this particular blade knife, the same knife, same model, but in tan scales. All right, talk to you later, YouTube. Have a great day.